Bar for Bar album reviews. Benny the Butcher, Burden of Proof. Burden of Proof is the second official studio album from Buffalo rapper Benny the Butcher. This project continues Griselda's run of albums following The Liz, From King to a God, and Who Made the Sunshine. The Griselda camp just stays busy with releases, but Benny's usually the one that takes a little bit more time between his projects. This album is also fully produced by Hit Boy, who's been on a run of his own with producing for Nas, Big Sean, and now Benny's album. Burden of Proof comes in at a total runtime of 38 minutes with 12 tracks, so it's right at that sweet spot for album length for the majority of people. This album also has a good amount of features, but that doesn't mean that Benny lets up at any point. The album starts off with the title track, Burden of Proof, which features the most calm "The Butcher Comin'" that I've ever heard from Benny. Once the beat fully comes in, though, we get right into the bars. Benny uses this track to tell listeners, old and new, what he's about. The first lines talk about how all of last year was dedicated to branding himself, and now he's trying to expand that. I think that applies to all of Griselda, though, not just him, since they've all dropped solo projects this year after the release of What Machine Gun Do last year. The rest of the track is really for the new listeners, though, that need to be caught up on Benny's past, allowing them to really understand what he's talking about on the rest of this album. I also really just enjoy that we got the "Okay, I'm reloaded" snippet at the end. This then goes into the second track, Where Would I Go, which features Rick Ross. This track just feels luxurious, which is great because it suits Rick Ross's style so well. Benny's verse is about the position that he's currently in, and, he's getting attention, getting money, and he wants to get used to that lifestyle now that he's here. Even his significant other isn't used to it yet, and even though she's running a hair company with Benny, they're getting money from other sources, but it's still just so new to them. He also mentions that people are saying that, stay humble, but they don't realize where he came from. He came from the streets. There was nothing for him there. Rick Ross's verse is solid as well, where he just kind of talks about the same sort of things, but reminds you not to let the money ruin your life. It's good to chase it, but don't let it corrupt you. Sly Green is the first full song without a feature, meaning there's more than just one verse from Benny. This track starts off pretty strong with the lines, "I'm a Christian Dior shirt rocker, 2-block wearer, only rapper that would have thrived in the Tupac era. I'm talking 98 drug money, shoebox era. I proved my point once, in every take, the proof got clearer." Based on the production on the rest of the album, feeling like it's taking cues from that time, I can definitely see this being true. The track is named after Sly Green, who was a street legend in Buffalo. Benny mentions that they're not really trying to glorify anything that he did, or everything that he did, but instead what he means. He's got two sides to him, the street stuff with all the violence, and then also just the the dealing and robberies, which are used to feed families. It's like Benny wants to pay respect to him for the things that he did to help others in the hood. One Way Flight is one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's not just because Freddie Gibbs is featured here. I love the instrumental, Benny's verses, and obviously Freddie's verse. And honestly, this might be one of my favorite songs this year, but there's still a few more months. The song itself is about a few things, but the main takeaway is the progression and consistency that both Benny and Freddie have had over the past few years. Like Freddie said, check their credentials. I also really liked how Freddie's verse was put in, because the song itself was about to end, and then he came in and he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna do a verse. Also, sorry, Clippers. He didn't have to go in like that. The next track here is Famous. It touches on the fact that even though Benny is getting a lot of attention, he still does not feel famous. The line, "I chose money over fame, how I end up with them both," is probably the best summary of the entire track. He started out selling product because he wanted the money, and now he's becoming one of the more popular rappers out there, and has become famous, essentially. It's interesting to hear from his perspective that people in his position don't really get the training socially and financially when they get to that level. So they have to figure that out on their own. And then obviously he has people voicing their opinions on what he should be doing with his money, and he should just be focusing on the money aspect. But that's just random people saying things. This is definitely something that I feel that more labels should look into alongside therapy, because those are things that some artists just don't know what to do with or what they should do about. This then flows pretty well into Timeless, which features Lil Wayne and Big Sean. This track was the first single for the project, and I've already done a full breakdown for that, so check it out if you want. But overall, the track is about how each rapper is either timeless already, or is working to become timeless. I know when I did the breakdown originally, I said I wasn't a huge fan of the beat, and I still feel that way under certain circumstances. So this is one of those songs that you really have to listen to in the car or with some really high quality headphones, because there's a lot that you won't hear otherwise. Like it does not sound good off your phone speakers. New Streets feels a bit like an interlude sort of track, because the beat is really laid back and Benny doesn't get too aggressive on it, but it does also feel a bit like a track that he would have done before working with Hit Boy. Kind of like the typical Griselda sort of beat. The song itself has Benny addressing other rappers that are just all talk, and given that he's been in the streets, I'm inclined to believe him when he talks about it. Over the Limit is an interesting track because of the beat. This isn't really something that I would expect Benny to rap on, or rap well on, but it worked. The track starts off talking about how Benny moves. Like, he doesn't trust people in the industry, and that some of his best verses are just him talking to himself. He also touches on the fact that only 3 out of 10 people would really ever make it out of the hood, and it's just hard to make it out, honestly. The second verse has him a little bit more introspective. He mentions how people are telling him to stop talking about the stuff that he did back in the day in case the feds try to get him, but this is all reality to him, and he knows that they're watching, so he does this on purpose almost. He also talks about how he got arrested around the time his hip-hop career started to move, and how he had to bow out of the streets to really be there for his family and for his career. Trade It All is another introspective track. Here he talks about where he came from and how he's basically used his story to make it. Now that he's here, he wishes that he could go back and change things so that he wouldn't have to suffer all the losses that he did. Then in the second verse, he talks about his kids and his family. It really feels like this song is dedicated to his brother, who, according to Benny, is a great guy and someone that is super reliable, and you can always rely on him for damn near anything. Like, if you need to push some work, he got you. If you need him to move a couch, he got you. These themes continue on in the track, Thank God I Made It. It kicks off with him showing love to his mother and all the other single mothers out there who have to basically be the dad and the mom for their sons. This track also carries on the thoughts of his brother, where Benny was hanging out with his nephew and saw his brother in him. Benny then brings up his brother again in the second verse, where he felt that his brother's spirit was there while writing the song. He also has some advice for younger people, which is really just find a new hustle. The street life isn't sustainable, and you may lose people. As we approach the end of the album, we get the obligatory Griselda crew cut with War Paint. Benny's verse is all about how they've built up this following and how they're not going to stop. And Conway carries on that idea with a mention of him meeting Jay and Beyonce and how excited his fiance was for him. This is a great way to begin wrapping up the album, because it shows the listener that Griselda is definitely getting recognition for their skill and the way they conduct business. I also really thought the ending skit where they're making fun of Griselda and Benny's name, saying that he should be in the WWE or something, it was just really funny. The last song on the album is Legend, and it's a fantastic ending to the album. The chorus, again, does a great job of summarizing what Benny's trying to say, where he goes, said I'm going to be a legend soon? Shit, I'm a legend now. I like this because it shows that Benny knows where he is. He might not be considered a legend by everyone just yet, since not everyone knows of him or he hasn't been around long enough, but at least he has that mindset. That alone is a big thing to do, because once you have that mindset, you can more easily work towards it and do so without any real issue. I also just really like how the beat comes in only for the verses. It's just a little thing that makes it a little bit better for me. Overall, Burden of Proof is a really good project. I would say it's about on par with From King to a God. I'll have to let it sit for a little bit longer to see where it actually will go, but it's pretty damn good. When I originally heard that Hit Boy was going to be producing this project, I was a little concerned because I didn't know how well Benny would do on his beats. However, when that track that Hit did with Conway came out, my concerns were alleviated. My favorite tracks here are One Way Flight, Famous, Over the Limit, Trade It All, and Thank God I Made It. I can't wait to hear more from Griselda, especially since Westside Gunn said there's at least, he has one more album coming out. I don't know if that means there's only one more Griselda project this year, but hopefully we don't have to wait too long to hear from everyone, especially from Benny, because, I get it, he takes his time, but I want more. But I am totally fine with waiting a little bit longer if this is the quality work that we're going to be getting. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this album and what your favorite tracks are. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more reviews like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.